Welcome to our Scaries Stories of Associate Dentist webinar. My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho Goodman. I am the founder of Dentist Job Connect and the founder of Dental Nachos. Dentist Job Connect is an amazing supporting sponsor of Dental Nachos. And our goal is to help prepare you, aware you, and definitely scare you some into making better decisions in your dentisting career, because there are associates and dental students and new dentists just like you who did not hear this information, and they lost money, they lost morale, they lost mentorship, they lost their sanity, and they wish they chose better. So if you happen to be watching in live, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. I am happy to answer one of your questions directly. If you are watching on demand the recording, just shout your question at the computer and I will hear it. Totally kidding. That's not a thing. When I was a kid watching TV, I thought that was a thing. You can text any question that you want to 215-798-9897 or email info@dentistjobconnect.com, and our amazing team will get that answer for you. So the most important people here are you, as people are coming into this Zoom chat. So please feel free to ask me any questions about the circle of dentisting life. The four biggest decisions: finding your first job, buying your first dental practice, hiring an associate dentist, and selling that dental practice. As I shared before, I am a friend to dentisting humans anywhere, trying to help them increase their success, decrease stress, and most of all, reduce the number of times they feel like crying inside a day. So let's take a look at this scary story. My schedule wasn't filled. I didn't make my daily guarantee, and I went into debt. What's really important to grasp in that moment is that the dental profession does a terrible job at preparing you to find a job after dental school. You finish dental school or even your GPR AGD, and they're kind of like, good luck, figure it out for yourself. And you don't know what questions to ask. You don't know how to approach the interview process, and you often say yes to a job that will make you cry inside and sometimes even outside. So what could someone do to avoid this scary story? One, a must-do is to observe at the practice for a full day before accepting a job and ask detailed questions. Do not do a clinical work interview. I'm not a fan of clinical work interviews. I think they are nacho nuts. I've hired multiple associate dentists, and they have never done 1 second of a clinical work interview. I don't know how you describe to your trusted patients that, hey, we have this dentist that we're not confident enough to hire, but we're going to test them out doing your fillings for the day, working with a dental assistant that they have never met, working in an operatory that they have never used before, and doing a treatment plan that they did not treatment plan. So not a fan of work interviews. I recommend you decline working interviews, but I do recommend you offer to observe at the practice. And by recommend, I think it's a requirement. Find out how far the schedule is booked out, the number of new patients the practice gets, the total amount of recall exams that they do. To give you some insight on these things, how far the schedule is booked out, a really good question to ask to avoid a super scary story is, hey, if I needed a crown on tooth number 30, if I broke my number 30, which is a lower right molar for anyone who is not in the dental world, how long would it be? How long would it take for me to schedule that with you, owner dentist? And you want to hear 6 weeks or more, because if you hear 2 weeks, that's not a very booked out schedule. The number of new patients the practice gets, this is definitely influenced by being a fee-for-service or a PPO dentist. But I think you want to hear that the practice gets 30 to 50 new patients a month or more, 30 to 50 new patients a month or more. And the total amount of recall exams, I have to give a shout out to my Nacho sponsor, the Dental Success Network, who talks about this. I'm a Dental Success Institute member. If you'd like a free pass to join the Dental Success Network through our Nacho sponsorship, please just text DSN to 215-543-6454. But once a practice owner does more than 130 recall exams per month, treatment plan acceptance can be affected. They may not have time to put the patients into their schedule to do the work. So those are 3 really good questions. Please feel free to ask any questions about this, but this is scary story number 1. To avoid becoming a scary story, find out what you should ask during the interview process. And we put together an entire series on this through Dental Nachos. We are a proud supporter and sponsor of Dental Nachos. Just text interview to 215-798-9897. Text interview to 215-798-9897, and you will get access to our free interview series. People have used this, new dentists, dental students, just like you have used this to find the job of their dreams, not their screams. So I did not have a dental focused attorney review my contract. I didn't have a dental focused attorney review my contract. This is one of the biggest problems that causes scary stories. One of the biggest problems that causes you to lose money, because you would not ask an attorney for advice on crowns. You would not ask an attorney for advice on class 2 composites. But for some reason, dentists ask other dentists for advice on their contracts, and they often get really, really, really bad advice, because inside of these contracts are clauses that you agree to that can cause you to cry and scream. Clauses like too long a termination notice. Do you guys realize as you're watching this that if you want to quit a job, you can't just quit and leave. You may have signed a termination notice agreement. We're going to give 90 days termination notice to your practice. And if you leave early, you may have to pay $1,000 a day to leave early. So do you have $90,000 to leave a job that you don't like? So please make sure, from restrictive covenants to termination notice to how you are paid, that you hire a dental focused attorney. Do not be dental student or new dentist cheap about this to review your contract. Because when you hire a dental focused attorney, nothing bad happens. The dental focused attorney either says, hey, this looks like a pretty good contract. Maybe you can negotiate a few points here, but overall it looks solid. And then you feel good about your job. Or even more important, even more worth the money you're going to spend doing this, there's 14 red flags and we haven't gotten to page 2. So make sure you have a dental focused attorney review your contract, and to avoid becoming a scary story and connect with an amazing dental focused attorney team that sponsors Dental Nachos and supports and sponsors us at Dentist Job Connect, text attorney to 215-798-9897. Text attorney to 215-798-9897. More people have joined us here on Zoom, so please feel free to ask any questions you would like about how to avoid a scary story as an associate dentist. So here's one that is just heartbreaking, beyond scary. I'm on the brink of being homeless because I didn't get disability insurance. I'm on the brink of being homeless because I didn't get disability insurance. This is a true story, and I have connected with this new dentist many times about the disaster, the financial catastrophe they are facing. So it is important to apply for disability insurance as soon as possible, as soon as possible. This new dentist didn't have anyone tell them that, or they ignored the advice. Either way, the impact is they have no money, because you can apply for disability insurance as a dental student and make sure you're at least not homeless. Make sure you can rent an apartment and feed yourself. This new dentist cannot do that. So one of my strongest points to avoid a scary story: protect the investment that you have made in your career. Text disability to 215-798-9897 to get connected with our awesome sponsor, Doctors Disability Specialist, as soon as possible. And if you happen to be watching this as a medium-age dentist, someone out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, make sure your disability policy has kept up with your income. Make sure your disability policy doesn't cover $80,000 of your income when you're making $280, because you'll have a big scary story if you become disabled when you're making $280 and you find out your disability insurance is only going to pay you $80. So make sure you are keeping up with your disability insurance. Practice owner wanted an unpaid working interview. So working interviews are so dangerous. Let me explain. Putting aside the trust factor with the patient and having them see a dentist that's not being hired by the practice, you're doing dental work on a patient you may never see again. Because what happens if you don't want the job? Who's going to follow up on this patient? You may be being involved with insurance fraud, because how are they billing out to insurances if you are not credentialed? And third of all, this is your career. This is your expertise. Why would you go and do free dental work to help a practice owner? So I feel very strongly that declining working interviews and suggesting observing at the practice instead is the way to go. And I have hired multiple associate dentists and have not required 1 second of a working interview. To avoid becoming a scary story, text WTF to 215-798-9897 to get a checklist to avoid a WTF, why these fail associate job. DSO promised me profit sharing and didn't deliver. So it can be a benefit for a practice to offer you profit sharing. It's a fairly complex offer. It likely comes with a variety of strings attached. And it's so important that your attorney reviews this with you and see if it is realistic. Ask professional advisors about this. Profit sharing for a new associate in your first year is unique, is odd. Make sure you're signing something that's realistic. Text advisor to 215-798-9897 to get it connected with advisors through our relationship with Dental Nachos as a sponsor. This could be attorneys, of course, could be financial professionals, could be coaches. Make sure you are checking into this to see if this is truly a realistic offer. I moved my family to spend 2 years planning a partnership, and 25 days before close, they bail. I moved my family to spend 2 years planning a partnership, and 25 days before closing, they bail. An incredibly scary story for an associate dentist. So some things remind you of partnerships are very complex relationships that are founded in a shared philosophy, not only on dentistry, but how you run the business, how you spend the money. And even though I have a partner in my brother, and I'm an enormous fan of group practices, it is so important that the partnership agreement that you sign or the partnership agreement that you want to get into is looked at extremely carefully by a number of advisors, including an accountant. Seek out professional advisors to help you with this. Text attorney to 215-798-9897 to get connected with an attorney. When it comes to partnerships, you're going to need more than just an attorney. There's going to be an accountant on your team and other advisors as well. This is a recent scary story by a brand new grad who I feel very, very bad for because she moved across the country, brought her family, her spouse there, and she was owed $14,000 and only got 10% of it. And she has some serious financial problems because of this. So one of the ways to avoid this is, does your job have an income guarantee? We offer income guarantees to our associates, no matter what money. And if they do not offer that to you, it can be dangerous for 2 reasons. One, you only make money if the practice makes money. And 2, at least if you're getting an income guarantee, this dentist would have gotten more than 10% along the way. So let's just say, for argument's sake, as you're listening into this, that you have an income guarantee of $10,000 a month and you work there for a month and you were supposed to get 14, but they already paid you 10. Then you would have only been missing out on $4,000. So not getting paid is very scary, very problematic. An income guarantee helps mitigate that scare factor. Text WTF to 215-798-9897 to watch in on how to avoid a why these fail associate job. The owner asked the assistants to secretly check on me. So we have assistants in our dental practice that are a valued part of the team, and they are not dentists. So I will give you an example of what my assistants are in charge of. They're in charge of making sure that you use equipment that's autoclaved and sterilized. That's their job. But they are not in charge of treatment planning the patient. So ask, what role does the dental assistant play in the treatment planning process? If you hear they make the whole treatment plan, they enter everything in, a big part of it, it doesn't mean it's terrible right off the bat. It can mean that they might get out of their lane in terms of the influence they have on the dentist. This can be mitigated. The risk can be decreased by doing that observation day and observing carefully. So it is normal for a practice owner like me to want my trusted team to give me insight on the associate so we can help you. Maybe you're taking too long explaining procedures. Maybe we haven't put you in the right place for success to be finished on time. That's positive. But if you feel like the dental assistant is like a dental school faculty member to you, that can be a scary story that you want to avoid. Continue to share with you. You want to definitely watch our Why These Fail Associate Jobs webinar. Just text WTF to 215-798-9897. Let go from my job because they could not support an associate. So busy is a feeling, not a fact. I think I got that from Dr. Phil. Feelings are not facts. So when you ask the practice owner why they're looking to hire an associate, Is the associate position a car a need or a boat a want? A car a need or a boat a want? I'm very well known for asking that. Analyze the support structure in place. Is there a dental assistant for you? What type of monthly production do you anticipate for me? So really, if you guys ask me who are listening to this, I'll play both roles. Hey, Dr. Paul, this seems like a great practice. I work here. What type of monthly production do you anticipate for me? Here's my good answer. This position is between $40,000 to $60,000 a month, between $480 to $720 a year. So if you work here for a full year and things go well and you're making a third of that, it's going to feel like you're making between $160,000 to probably $190,000 a year. That's a really good answer. A really bad answer is, I'm not so sure. Let's see what happens, but I know we're really busy here. I'm not so sure. Let's see what happens, but we're really busy here. Because the practice owner may not realize that hiring an associate comes at a cost. If you need to have some of their patients, think of it like a big pizza. Practice owners used to eating all the pizza. If there's no extra slices of pie for the production, that means there's not going to be enough for you. So analyze the support systems in place. I cannot stress highly enough how amazing the DSN is. It is for licensed dentists. So if you are a licensed dentist and you want a free sponsor pass from our Nacho sponsor, for us being a Nacho sponsor, text DSN to 215-798-9897. I feel like I aggravate my team by taking double the amount of time the owner does. Scary story, slow, scary story. So one, it's normal to be slower than the owner. Two, efficiency matters. So if their crown preps are done by the owner in 90 minutes and it takes you 3 hours, it's going to cause a problem. So what I recommend is you figure out how to be efficient as possible, communicate with your owner and team, and invest in CE courses. Ripe Global, one of our sponsors through Dental Nachos, helps you become more efficient. If you want to listen or watch their free Faster Crown Prep course, Better and Faster, text FAST to 215-798-9897. So efficiency, not rushing, does matter. And have authentic conversations with the practice owner. Hey, I'm a new dentist. If it takes me 2 hours to do a crown start to finish, will that work here? It's better to know upfront than to get into a difficult situation later. So to not become scary story with efficiency, text RIPE to 215-798-9897 to learn how our Nacho sponsor helps you become a more efficient dentist. I got fired today from a DSO because they didn't see any growth. I was laid off from a job I loved after a DSO bought out our office. These are scary stories that happen when a business model, could be a DSO or private practice, has business economics that they need to hit. And they may not need you anymore. They may need someone who does more production. And this is some of the scary parts of the dental world. Understanding expectations and asking the right questions, like what is their monthly production goal for me? And if you hear it's $100,000 and you're out of your GPR, that could be tough as a new dentist. If you hear it's $60,000, that could be doable. I encourage you to start thinking about this now, whether you're a D1, D2, D3 new dentist, someone who's been out for a few years. Production goals, if they matter to the DSO or private practice, they're going to matter to you. It shouldn't all be about money though. So if they said, we need someone to produce $150,000 no matter what, and we need 29 crowns to come out of your operatory no matter what, that can be an incredibly uncomfortable situation, even for me, everyone. So I want to make sure I'm in the culture that values patient care first, productivity second. Patient care first, productivity second, but a close second. And I call it patient-centered production. So you want to be in a place where that values patient-centered production, not production-centered patient care. Doing a GPR and AGD is incredibly important, in my opinion. To learn the value, the risks and benefits of doing a GPR AGD, text GPR to 215-798-9897. So I've loved sharing these scary stories with you. If anyone has a specific question before we wrap up, I would love to answer that. I want to share with you that our absolute most valuable thing you can take from this is our 4-hour interview series on how to find a good associateship and survive in the real world through our sponsorship with Dental Nachos. Text interview to 215-798-9897. We have positions on Dentist Job Connect listed all over the United States. Whether you're a D1, D2, D3 new dentist, Go to dentistjobconnect.com and scroll through these positions to get context and clarity as to what practice owners are looking for when it comes to clinical skills, when it comes to expectations, what they are offering when it comes to income guarantees and more. Thank you so much for being part of our amazing community. If we can help you in any way, learn, laugh, and feel less alone, increase success, decrease stress, and reduce crying inside, please reach out to us at dentistjobconnect.com.